Namaste, everyone. So today we want to take a look at how to transform your standing work areas. This is the third out of the 8 Fix Your Furniture videos if you're using the standard order. And this is for everybody in posture groups 2 through 8. As long as you can stand up, this is an issue, right? So, definitely want to take a look at the kitchen. Now, if you're someone who has some kind of a hobby or some kind of work where you spend a lot of time standing and working at some kind of a desk, this is definitely something you want to use there too. If you're working out in the garage or you've got a special place that you like to build Legos or something, it doesn't really matter how old you are. What matters is if you're spending time standing up doing something, right? Because watch what happens when I stand at a normal counter. This is a standard counter, right? Look at that. I mean, look at how much my shoulders automatically go down just to put my hands on the tabletop. Now, I am not an extremely tall person. I'm like maybe 5'7". The fact that I've been a cleaning lady my whole life, I have never, ever found a kitchen that was good for anyone's posture. I mean, even the little kids, there's going to be maybe 6 months somewhere in their childhood when the counter is actually the right height. That's about it. So this is something to keep in mind. If you're a little older and you want to take the time, in all the houses that I have remade the kitchen. All of my countertops have come up to this, right? I mean, if I have my stuff right here, it allows my shoulders to be back for my height, right? Obviously, you're not going to be able to design the kitchen to fit a great deal of many different heights. But if you have one primary cook in the kitchen, it's not a big deal. You just make it to their height, right? I mean, if you go over to somebody's house and you happen to do the dishes to say thank you for dinner, it's not going to kill you just because you slouched over the sink, right? Because that's what we do. We slouch over the sink. I mean, look at how much of a shoulder drop there is when I stand and do that. This is where the sink is supposed to be. Now, that's not one that I figured out how to win with. Unless you're completely redoing all of your plumbing, you're not going to move the sink, are you? But if you're a new homeowner, this is something to keep in mind, okay? Don't go with conventional recommendations because they're terrible. There's actually 2 things that are going on. Obviously, we want to fix the height, right? Because if I can keep my hands here, I might still be looking down, so if I'm looking at what I'm doing, but at least I can get my shoulders back. I can't get my shoulders back if I have to work down here. That's just not possible. It just literally pulls you right over instantly. You can feel it. So, but like I said, that's not actually the only thing. You want the right height too. But the other problem with all of our American counters is that they go straight down to the floor. Now, if you look closely here, you'll see that there's a wee bit of an overlap. They give you some room for your toes so that you can get right up to the counter. But this doesn't work very well, does it? Like, I have to tip myself over in order to even try to keep my back straight. If I want to stand up, you want to stand up like this. You need to have space underneath for those toes. Most of the kitchens that I've been in don't even give you toe room. It's just, this is the edge of the counter, and it goes down to the floor. And that's a problem because now you always have to reach over. You want some place to put your feet, and you want to be able to work a little farther out. So let me show you. This is starting to get too hard to talk about. It's just way easier to show. There's lots of different ways. It's super easy, right? Any little bit of creative thinking can do a fine job of making you a slightly higher work area. This does not require special tools or fancy equipment. Anything you have lying around the house is probably going to do just fine. Something I would recommend is lids. I have done all kinds of rigged stuff in kitchens to try to find better ways of doing things. And the truth is having big boards around is kind of heavy and kind of awkward, and they're hard to clean, and then you got to paint them really well, and then you don't want to eat the paint in your food. Lids are super easy. They're easy to clean. They're easy to get. Go to the dollar store, pick up a $1 lid, and you're good to go, right? Plus, you can flip them upside down, and then if you are doing something, for example, that's kind of messy and it might have liquids running off, you have a tray that will catch it. So that works too. I would not recommend anything so big you cannot conveniently put it in the sink. This is pretty big, but that works pretty well. You know, if I go get one of the big ones, well, now you got to take it to a bathtub, clean it, and that's not any fun, right? So I would recommend lids. This is a really nice board because it's warped. This is what I use in this apartment. Of course, my houses, I've refitted the kitchens, but in this apartment, we can't change anything because it's a rental, right? And that's what most people are going to be living in. And it's not terribly helpful for me to show you how to rebuild countertops, is it? So we just want to figure something out that's easy and lets you actually do what you're doing without causing pain and stress. So this is just a little box that's the exact same height of my board. This is a nicely warped board, so it stands up by itself with no trouble. It doesn't tip over on me, and I'm good to go. Now you are going to have to spend a little bit of time thinking about what your ideal height is, right? You know, not very hard to do. Just about anything will work. Again, I said it would stand up easy. Well, it does. There we go. I usually put it out like this because I don't like being crammed up like this. It makes me want to slouch over when I have to. You want to be able to give yourself some space, right? But have this hang over. You know, if you're thinking about fixing up your own kitchen properly and redoing proper countertops, it's very easy to do. So that works pretty well. You can just use things lying around. If you want to make it permanent so that you don't have to constantly mess with things, then you can just screw it on. It's super easy, right? I prefer not to, but there's all kinds of people living here and all kinds of heights, and having a bunch of pre-made bolted together things is just not very convenient for us. We like to have everybody's different heights of board, and they just throw this on top, right? So it's good, works for everybody. So that's something to keep in mind too. You might not want to nail this together. If you do nail it together, an X works very well, a triangle works very well, a big old circle thing in the middle that you can bolt it to, or just about anything is going to do just fine. But if you want a rigid surface, you might want to consider something more like this. This is just a pile of books. This is like a cassette thing, right? But, because lids are a little bit more flimsy, right? If you put it on something solid like that, then it's then it's not gonna move on you, right? I have no trouble. Let me show you what I mean. I have absolutely no trouble cutting something up. That is on this board. Let me find something to cut. There we go. And it's not even remotely difficult. You don't really need a rigid surface for almost everything you're going to do. Honestly, I don't think that's ever really been an issue for me. But if it bothers you that your countertop moves a little bit because it's a lid, then just put something like this up at the top of your brace. You know, if you make a more permanent brace, you can stick this right here and just nail it on so that it's never going to flex on you. And then put your brace underneath that. That would work out just hunky-dory. So, as you can see, this is very, very easy to fix. I mean, you could use a cardboard box and paint it if you wanted. I wouldn't want to eat off of that, but you get the idea. You do not need to buy any fancy equipment. The most you might need to do is get a lid if you can't find one lying around somewhere. And that is going to oh my goodness. I mean, stand up, you know, get your pieces and play with this for a little bit, because the difference lies in how you feel, you know? I think that's why people are going to end up taking these suggestions and working with them, because if you try it once, you're going to see a whopping difference. The difference between how I feel like this and how I feel like this, I mean, it's huge. It's really, really big. Like, I feel like I'm alert and awake. Why? Because I'm in proper posture. As soon as you start to slouch when you work, believe it or not, that's part of why you feel dragged out, like you don't want to do work. It's because literally the way you are doing it makes you feel bad. I mean, I've never met a kid that had a beef with doing their own dishes. Not one. I mean, yeah, sure, it might be nice if we had a magic wand and we never had to do anything like that, right? Sure, absolutely. But everyone wants to be able to take care of themselves. You know, you might not like a bunch of rules like, I'm going to cook a 12-course meal and make a bunch of filthy pots, and I'm going to tell you it's your job to do dishes tonight. That's not the same thing. It's just washing your plate every time you eat, right? Never met a kid that didn't want to do basic things to take care of themselves, that didn't enjoy doing that. You know, maybe once we get a little older, it's like, oh, I hate doing dishes because nobody ever does them, and then it's stuck to whoever gets you landed with the pile, right? Yes, we can develop all kinds of attitudes. But if we would just stop and correct the way we do the work in the first place, then it would stop hassling us and we would stop arguing over not wanting to do it because it'd be easy and we could always feel good as we did it. We don't stop to think that what we do with our body as we are doing any kind of activity is most of how we feel about the activity, right? It doesn't matter whether you're going to the roller coaster. Wow, am I old, right? There's no more, well, I did say roller coaster, but I was thinking of a roller rink. But you get the idea. No matter whether you're going out and doing something for fun or doing real work, it really doesn't matter. What matters is whether you feel good when you're doing it. I mean, everybody's seen kids that were taken out to a party and they were just having a miserable time, right? It's not a guarantee just because it's fun or because it's work. It's really mostly about what we're doing with our body. I challenge you to find out. So if you're taking this course for credit, send me a picture of your new counter rig. Namaste.